Welcome to Real Rockford Files, for tales of the paranormal, supernatural, and the flat-out unbelievable. Today I'm going to be sharing ghost stories from New York. Let's get into it. Story 1. I've just moved into my new house and I've overheard my mom talking about a ghost in our house named Marie. I didn't believe her, but one night I was having trouble sleeping, so I went to the bathroom. It was a warm spring night, so there was no cold feeling in the air. I walked back into my room, and it was very cold in a part of my room, near the closet. I just ignored it. A while later, I saw her, standing next to the closet. I got scared and ran into my mom's room. During another day, me and my friends were having an iced tea sale in front of my house. My sister ran into the house for some more mix, and I was trying to scare her by spraying the window with the hose. I realized that she walked back outside, so I dropped the hose and looked back at the window. All of a sudden, I see an old lady shaking her finger at me. Marie died in my house in her sleep at an old age. The same night, I hear a whisper in my ear, "Get out." We also found out she died in my room. Story 2. I told this story briefly before, but this time I'll tell it in its full entirety. We moved into 455A 2nd Street when I was 14 years old on April 1st, 1998. From the moment we moved in, something was so not right. It was an incredibly dark apartment, though we should have been thrilled because it was the first apartment we'd ever had with more than one floor. There were 3 floors, including the basement, and it was nice, if you could ignore the feeling of someone standing just behind you or staring at you wherever you went. Within 2 weeks of moving in, I was molested in my own bedroom by a man from the neighborhood. An elderly woman who'd lived right next door for most of her life informed of us that no one had occupied our apartment for more than a year at a time since as long as she could remember. She also related that terrible tragedies befell all of said people within only a few weeks of moving in, continuing through the day they moved out. Though we all had eerie feelings in the apartment, we had not noticed anything too weird. The apartment was very uninviting, cold and damp. We tried to decorate it, warm it up a little, but nothing helped. Another thing was, no matter what we did, we could not get a phone installed. We had the phone company over about 4 times to fix the wires, but no matter what they did, we can get absolutely nothing, not even static. So we were pretty isolated. The entire time we were there, weird happenings continued. The ceiling above my brother's bed collapsed. The only reason he wasn't hurt is because he got up to use the bathroom. A fire started in my room. The fire department never determined why. If my friend hadn't stopped by and rang the doorbell, I would have continued sleeping. Within 5 minutes of answering the doorbell, my neighbor came out screaming that my room was on fire. I ran up and the entire back wall was in flames. I tried to put it out with the blanket, and unbeknownst to me, the door had closed behind me. It went from daylight to dark in 2 minutes, and I started to pass out. Thankfully, my friend ran up and opened the door, carrying me down the stairs, or I would have been literally toast. After that, my neighbor confided in us that strange things have always gone on in my building. In the 30s or 40s, a fire had killed a little boy within a month of the family moving in. In the 60s, a couple were whacked by the mob because of some insidious affair. There were no records because the church's records had been burned in a fire, so we couldn't get any more information than what people said. There were other things that happened. A friend of mine coming to my apartment and seeing a little boy in the burnt rags staring at her in my bathroom mirror. She ran out crying and refused to set foot in my door again. Another friend who slept over, note, both friends were not told of our experiences, and awoke in the middle of the night swearing that she saw a woman walk into my room through the door. My brother and I heard children crying and laughing one day downstairs, and when we tried to leave my mother's room, we were locked in, even though there was no lock, for an hour before it finally opened. My mother was downstairs doing the laundry when the lights turned off in the basement, and she felt a cold, scaly hand grab her shoulder. Needless to say, my dad did the laundry after that. Weird smells, sounds, and the feeling that someone or something did not want you there, that something bad was going to happen to you, and that you were not welcome at all. We moved out a year to the day later, as soon as we could find a new apartment. We found out some more after that. The people that moved in after us tried to renovate the basement and found the body of the little boy in the wall. They left suddenly one night not too long after and never returned. Another couple moved in and left inexplicably as fast, and so on and so forth to this day. Since then, we met a woman whom had gone to my mother's office. She's a nurse that works in a doctor's office because of a nervous condition. My mother noticed the address on her insurance card didn't match the one listed, and the woman explained she had only lived at 55A 2nd Street for a few months and had to leave because her mother had died along with various other tragedies from the first week of moving in. My mother asked if the woman ever noticed anything weird. Well, the woman explained exactly what we had gone through, perhaps the cause of her condition. We're all fine now, happy to be out of there, and we've moved on. We still see our neighbor once in a while, and she always says the best thing we ever did was move out of that godforsaken house. Needless to say, we agree. We've not been haunted since, and life is good. If there's one thing we learned, I'd say it was to trust our instincts. If you get horrible vibes from a place, don't put it off as folly. It might just save your whole family out of trouble. Story 3. I was around 10 years old. It was Good Friday in Brooklyn, New York, and my mother woke up listening to music. My mother went in to take a shower, and right there I felt a little nervous. Why? I don't know. I was sitting on the sofa and heard footsteps, thinking it was my mother. I didn't bother to turn around. Since it took her a while to pass me, since she had to pass me to get to her bedroom, I turned to see what she was doing. She wasn't there. I went to the bathroom and she was still taking a shower. When she got out, I told her, and she said, "That's scary. I saw a tall shadow through the curtain." Right there, I just wanted to hurry and go to my aunt's house. While she was doing her hair, singing along with the radio, we heard the front door open and slam, and we heard a man say, "That's freaking nice. Keep singing." We both went to the door because at this time I was really scared and didn't want to be nowhere in the house alone. When we went towards the door, we saw a shadow coming towards us. I closed my eyes and grabbed my mom, and right there a cold wind went right by us. Since that day on, I would beg my mother to let me stay at my aunt's house because the weird things did not stop at our house. We would always see shadows, and every now and then something would say something when we would have music on, or the TV was a little louder than usual. Story 4. I've been living in this house for about 4 years, and just recently there has been evidence of a ghost. I'm not sure if it is a friendly one or not, but there's usually stuff happening like footsteps. It usually happens upstairs when no one else is even up there, and the radio station changes in the bathroom when someone is taking a shower. Then there are the unusual presences like feeling someone is in the room with you when you're the only one. It seems to me like I'm the only one who experiences that though. Maybe I'm just crazy. Also, it feels like the only two rooms where this is happening is my room and my older sister's. Especially my older sister's. Her room is the most active. That's where it is colder than the rest of the house, and shadows sometimes move when no one is in the room. My room is where the presence happens also. I don't know why this has just started happening, but to me it seems either playful or it's trying to scare us purposefully. In the kitchen, there are two cupboards lined up alongside each other, and one of them has all the salad plates on a smaller shelf and the bigger plates underneath it. The shelf that the smaller plates are on is sturdy in there and wouldn't tip unless someone pushed it. This morning, all the salad plates fell out of the cupboard and only one of them breaks. The shelf is still there, so all the other plates. The only way that could have happened is if someone pushed the plates down. Even then, I don't know how only one of the plates broke. Story 5. Since I was a kid, I've had weird visions and encounters. My parents always listened, but I was never scared, so they were never overly concerned. Though my mother always believed me, I think she chalked it up to my creative nature. As I got older, I noticed more and more, specifically at night, regardless of what house or apartment I'm in, I've noticed a presence between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. on a recurring basis, multiple times at exactly 2:15 a.m. Often it's just seeing or feeling someone in the room. A couple times I've woken up because I felt someone rip my blankets off of me and had this feeling of someone watching me. But all in all, though, it's been alarming, sometimes annoying, yet it's always felt playful and I've never felt any real fear until last night. I've been living in my apartment for almost 3 years alone. You hear a lot in an old building, and I always think I see things. But last night I fell asleep around 1 a.m. I was sleeping on my stomach and felt something pushing my head into my pillow, trying to smother me. My first thought was this was really happening and I went into defense mode, though I had amazing resistance, like I couldn't control my body. I moved my arm between my face and pillow, reached back to what was pushing me and yelled, "Stop." There was of course nothing there, but as I yelled, they let go of my head and tried to push me off my bed. I felt like I reached the edge and jumped up, turned on my lights and looked around. It was exactly 2:11 a.m. At that exact moment, I yelled, "Leave me alone," and my iPod went on. As I secured my room, I noticed my bedroom door was closed, but not shut as I had left it the night before. I walked through my apartment and came back to my room and tried to go back to sleep, a little uneasy to say the least. Do you think this will be a one-time event? Will it escalate? Or should I take some sort of action against this spirit? Story 6. I'm 31 years old, but back when I was 16 years old, I lived with my parents along with my two brothers. I'm a triplet. And two sisters in a New York City apartment, Upper Manhattan. I was in my bedroom finishing up my homework. There was one math equation I could not figure out. Since my sister Pamela is a wizard when it comes to mathematics, I decided to head over to her room. Her door was slightly opened and I walked in. I saw a medium-built guy, about 6 feet tall, sleeping perfectly on her bed. As I moved closer, his eyes opened and gave me a blank stare. I freaked out and ran, noticed my sister was in the living room. I told my sister what happened. That boyfriend was trying to scare me. I don't have a boyfriend, and I didn't bring anyone home with me. I grabbed her hand and led her to the bedroom, only to see he was gone. I know it was no intruder since the windows were locked at that time. I was a bit disturbed by the fact I had my own encounter with a ghost. Before this incident, I was skeptical about ghosts. Now I'm a believer. Story 7. This is the first time I've ever asked for advice or comments on what I've experienced. Until now, I have just prayed and tried to move on with my life thinking that these incidents have some sort of rational explanation. I never sought other person's explanations since I thought that I was the only person this ever really happened to. After reading other people's stories, I realize now that I'm not alone. A couple things have happened to me that seem rather strange, all of which have happened in the past couple years. About 6 years ago, I was lying on my bed sleeping when I awoke and sat up straight. It was between 2 a.m. and 2:30 a.m. I didn't even feel sleepy. I was wide awake. I used to sleep in the attic. The strange thing is that all the places for my eyes to fall on, it was a candle holder on top of my TV that it did. It seemed as though my eyes were drawn to it for some reason. It was a bowl-like shape with cut-out shapes on the sides so that when the candle is placed inside, the light comes out in the shape's patterns. It was silver in color. There was a window just behind me and my curtains were light and translucent, so light came through from the street light. After looking at this seemingly normal candle holder for about 15 seconds, I was amazed. I'm not sure if I was amazed because of the fact that it was spinning on its own or the beautiful light show it provided with the reflected light. Either way, I stared for what felt like about 5 minutes, which is a long time to be staring at a candle holder at 2 something in the morning. Eventually, I laid back down and fell asleep. This continued to happen for about 5 or 6 days. Every time I would wake up and my eyes would automatically fall on the candle holder, no matter which day or which way I was sleeping. It wasn't as if I was looking for it. It was as if it was calling me. I was never scared of it. I looked at it every night for about 3 to 5 minutes, then went back to bed. The last time I saw it, I did get scared. However, I remember that night I wanted to be sure that what I think I was seeing was actually what was happening. I sat up straight, looking at it. Before this, I never really focused on it. I just looked. This time I wanted proof. I tried to zoom in as much as possible without leaving my bed. It was only after a few minutes that I realized that the holder was not just spinning, but floating about 2 inches above the TV. This is when I was scared out of my mind. I slammed back down on my bed and tried to sleep. The next night, I awoke at night again, around the same time. This time I awoke frightened and shaken. I didn't want to move for fear of seeing the candle move again, so I just lay there trembling until I fall asleep from exhaustion. I would like to know if this is something beyond everyday logic, or if I have some sort of disorder. I have other experiences to share. I would really like to understand what was happening to me. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories. Hope you enjoyed.